You ever notice how society loves to hand out rules like Halloween candy? Except instead of candy, it's more like cough drops. Nobody asked for them, they taste like crap. And if you eat too many, you start wondering what the hell's wrong with your life. Rules everywhere. Every little corner of life's got a rule taped on it like a sticky note from somebody who thinks they know better than you. And the funny part, half the rules contradict the other half. They cancel each other out like bad checks. Somebody tells you, "Oh, be yourself," but then the next guy says, "Oh, don't make a scene." Well, which one is it? If I'm being myself, I'm making a scene. That's who I am. I'm loud, I'm weird, I got opinions. If you don't want a scene, don't invite me. But no, the world wants you to be authentic and to blend in at the same time. That's like telling a cat, hey, be a cat, but also bark a little so you fit in with the dogs. And think about the rules they make for kids. When you're a kid, they tell you, don't talk to strangers. That's the number one rule. Every adult pounds that into your head. Don't talk to strangers. Then you grow up, you're 18, and suddenly they say, go out there, meet new people, make connections, network. Hold on. You spent the first 18 years convincing me strangers were dangerous. Now the whole economy runs on me chit-chatting with strangers in uncomfortable clothing while balancing a plate of shrimp. That's not networking, that's punishment. And schools, schools are the Olympic headquarters of useless rules. In school they say you sit still. Why? Kids aren't designed to sit still. They've got energy shooting out of their ears. A kid sitting still is either sick, asleep, or plotting something, that's it. But no, they want you frozen in a chair like a wax figure, staring at a chalkboard while somebody explains the Pythagorean theorem. But why do I need to know this? Because it's the rule. That's the real answer. It's not about math, it's about obedience. The whole thing is training for cubicles. Sit here. Shut up. Raise your hand if you want to pee. That's not education, that's practice for a future in middle management. And then you get to the workplace and the rules keep going. Except now they're disguised as policies. Company policy. That's how they dress up nonsense to make it sound official. It's company policy you wear a tie. Oh, really? Is the tie doing something? Is the tie keeping the place from collapsing? If I show up without a tie, will the computer stop working? It's just a rule. No, it's just a piece of fabric around my neck like a leash, reminding me I'm one step away from being walked around the office by a supervisor with a clipboard. And here's a rule I never understood. No loitering. What the hell else are you supposed to do at a bus stop? The bus isn't there yet. That's literally what loitering is, waiting around. But they don't want you hanging out too long. Makes people nervous. Like the whole world's allergic to people just existing without a purpose. You can't just stand somewhere, you gotta be on your way to something. You gotta be buying something, selling something, fixing something. God forbid you just stand there breathing air, not contributing to the economy. That's loitering. You're loitering against capitalism. And then there are the rules that completely ignore reality, like a no eating in a store. You ever see that one? Meanwhile, every third person is strolling the aisles, munching on grapes from the produce section like it's their own personal vineyard. And here's the kicker. If you get to the checkout with an empty grape bag, they still wait. You owe us $3. $3 for what? Memories? You're charging me for the experience of chewing? It's not produce anymore, it's gone. It's produce history. But that's the rule. They even make rules for things that have no business being ruled. Take swimming pools. No running. Why not? Isn't that the whole point of being a kid at a pool? To run and slip and break your collarbone. That's tradition. You're supposed to come out of summer with at least one cast. That's how you know you lived. But no, they got a whistle. They got a lifeguard. They got a laminated sign with stick figures doing exactly what you're not allowed to do. The only thing they don't put up is a rule that says they're no fun. But that's implied. And then religion, don't even get me started. Religion is like the Costco of rules. You walk in and suddenly you're surrounded by them in bulk. Don't eat this, don't touch that, don't say those words, don't look at her, don't look at him, and whatever you do, don't think about anything while you're not looking at anyone. You follow all the rules, you get a gold star. You break one, you're doomed. And they wonder why people are neurotic. You'd be neurotic too if every decision in your life came with an invisible referee blowing a whistle. And even outside religion, we've got this constant parade of unwritten rules. That's the best scam of all. The unwritten rules. You're supposed to know them even though nobody ever told you. Don't take the last slice of pizza. Why not? It's food. That's the whole point. Somebody made the pizza so somebody could eat it. It's rude. Rude. You know what's rude. Leaving one slice sitting there to get cold and sad. That slice is abandoned, it's lonely, it's calling out for love. I'm the hero here, not the villain. But no, you broke the unwritten rule. And it just keeps piling up. A don't cut in line, a don't burp in public. A don't wear white after Labor Day. Who decided that one anyway? Who sat around and thought, you know what, September's here. No more white pants. Who was it, the fashion police? The laundry mafia? Nobody knows. But it became a rule and people actually take it seriously. Meanwhile, the universe doesn't care what color your pants are. Wear purple plaid with polka dots if you want. The cosmos isn't judging you. Just the lady in aisle 7 with too much time on her hands. You ever notice how everything in society is supposed to be about order? That's the word they use, order. Makes it sound neat, makes it sound organized. But in reality, order is just chaos with a dress code. They slap a label on it, call it order, and suddenly everyone's supposed to pretend things make sense. You stand in line, you wait your turn, you fill out forms, you push little buttons, and you think, oh wow, this is how civilization functions. Meanwhile, underneath, it's duct tape, coffee stains, and some guy in a polyester vest telling you the system is down. That's order. Think about it. Every place you go where they brag about having order is the most disorganized mess you've ever seen. Take airports. Airports are supposed to be the height of order. Timetables, schedules, boarding groups. They got announcements every 3 seconds as if constant noise equals control. But what happens the second you walk in? Line for check-in, line for security, line for boarding, line for the bathroom, line for coffee. The whole system is just lines and they don't even move. People standing there, sweating, clutching shoes in their hands, trying to juggle a laptop and a bag of toiletries in a Ziploc. That's not order. That's a cattle drive with overhead bins. And then you finally get on the plane, right? Assigned seats, boarding passes, zone numbers. It's supposed to be organized. But everyone is shoving bags into the overhead like it's a game of Tetris nobody wins. People blocking the aisle because they can't figure out how to sit down in a seat that's clearly labeled. Excuse me, is this 12B? Yeah, it's the one with a giant of 12B on it. What do you think it means? And the flight attendants, they're supposed to be enforcing order, but they're basically referees in a game where nobody knows the rules and the plane's already 2 hours late. That's society's idea of order. Layers and layers of nonsense designed to give the illusion that somebody's in charge. But nobody's in charge. No. The person in charge is at home watching TV while you're in line at the DMV, waiting for your number to show up on a flickering screen that hasn't worked right since 1985. The DMV, that's another great shrine to order. They've got ropes and partitions like you're in line for a theme park ride, except the ride at the end is a woman in a cubicle telling you filled out the wrong form. They've got categories for everything. Renewals, registrations, ID cards, tests. And yet, no matter what line you pick, it's always the wrong one. You stand there for 45 minutes only to be told, oh no, this is the registration line. You need the licensing line. Well, maybe you geniuses should put up a sign instead of watching people wander around like lost sheep. But that would be too easy. Order's not supposed to be easy. Order has to make you suffer. That way you feel like you accomplished something just by surviving. And then there's the workplace. They love order in the workplace. Rules, protocols, standard operating procedures. They've got flowcharts and mission statements plastered on the walls. Whole departments dedicated to a workflow. And yet, on any given day, nobody knows what's happening. Meetings scheduled to prepare for other meetings, memos sent out with corrections for the previous memos, and always one guy who can't figure out how to unmute himself on the conference call. That's order. No, that's chaos in a tie. And the boss doesn't care about actual order. The boss just wants it to look like there's order. So when the big bosses come in, they see binders and charts and think, look at the system we've got here. Meanwhile, the real system is Dave from accounting using duct tape to hold the copier together. And they really try to sell you on this whole keeping society running smoothly idea. Smooth, that's the word. You're supposed to believe the world runs smoothly if everyone follows the rules. Drive here, stop there, sign here, pay that. Wait here. But none of it is smooth. Ever drive through rush hour traffic? Cars backed up for miles, horns blaring, people cutting each other off, and at the end of it, you finally pass the one guy responsible. A construction worker standing next to an orange cone, holding a sign that says, slow. One guy, that's your order. Thousands of people stuck because some guy in a hard hat is rotating a piece of plywood every 30 seconds. That's not smooth. That's a traffic jam with branding. They sell you the illusion of order because without it, people panic. If they told you the truth that most of the time, nobody knows what's going on, you'd lose your mind. So they keep the act up. Police uniforms, judges in robes, teachers with grade books, managers with clipboards. All symbols of order. But really, it's theater. The judge doesn't have any more wisdom than your Uncle Carl. He just has a gavel and better lighting. The cop doesn't magically know right from wrong. He's just got a badge and a car with flashing lights. The manager doesn't understand the project. He just has a spreadsheet. It's costumes, props, stage direction. Society is community theater pretending to be Shakespeare. And the funny part is, people buy into it. They need to. Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart. You go to a restaurant and the hostess says, it'll be a 20-minute wait. You believe her. Why? Because she's holding a clipboard. The clipboard is magic. It doesn't matter that half the tables are empty. The clipboard says 20 minutes. That's order. You sit down, you wait, you accept it. If she didn't have the clipboard, you'd be like, hey, there's a table right there. But the clipboard shuts your brain off. Same with security guards. You ever notice how a uniform and a walkie-talkie turns any guy into a symbol of order? Doesn't matter if he's half asleep on a stool. The uniform makes you think he's guarding the universe. You see him and think, someone's keeping an eye on things. No, he's not. He's watching reruns in his head and trying to stay awake till his break. But the uniform says order, so we all relax. The whole thing's an act. The lines on the road, the signs on the wall, the forms in the folder. They're not there because they make life better. They're there because if you don't put a frame around chaos, people freak out. The frame doesn't actually hold anything. It just tricks you into thinking the picture makes sense. You know what's funny? People say comedy is just for laughs, just entertainment. No, comedy is the last honest news source we've got. Everything else is advertising with a teleprompter. Comedy is the only place left where you can actually hear the truth, because it sneaks up on you while you're laughing. That's the magic. People will sit through a 2-hour lecture, remember nothing, but they'll laugh at a one-liner in a comedy club and carry it with them for the rest of their life. That's power. And let me tell you, society hates it when you notice too much. They don't want you noticing the cracks in the foundation. They want you to admire the wallpaper. That's what all the rules are for. All the rituals, all the little please wait here signs. It's wallpaper. Comedy comes along, rips a chunk of it off and goes, hey, look at the mold back here. And the audience laughs because deep down they knew it was there. They just weren't supposed to say it out loud. That's why people get so nervous around comedians. They know we're professional noticers. We look at the same nonsense everyone else looks at, but instead of ignoring it, we point to it and go, what the hell is that? And suddenly the whole room realizes, oh my God, I thought I was the only one who saw that. That's the truth right there. It's not hiding, it's sitting in the middle of the room eating chips, and everyone's been pretending not to look. And you can tell truth scares people. Watch how fast they cover it up. Somebody says, hey, maybe this rule doesn't make sense. And immediately, here come the explanations. Well, that's just how it's always been. Well, it's tradition. Well, it's for your own good. Yeah? So is cough syrup, and I don't see anybody lining up for that. The truth is simple, but people hate simple. They'd rather pile on excuses, like throwing blankets over a couch nobody wants to admit is ugly. Comedy rips the blanket off. There it is, folks. That's the ugly couch. And people laugh because finally someone admitted it. Ever notice how the things we laugh hardest at are the things that are obviously true? Nobody howls with laughter over a lie. You don't hear a comedian say, "Hey folks, the sky is green," and the audience falls out of their chairs. No, the laugh comes from the recognition. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I've seen that. That's why jokes about airlines kill, because everybody suffered through the same circus at the airport. That's why jokes about jobs hit home, because everyone's had the same idiot boss. Comedy is the group therapy session where you don't have to talk. You just laugh and realize you're not insane. And the best part is, comedy doesn't have to dress up the truth. Politicians dress it up. They take a rotten apple, spray paint it gold, and say, "Here, this is progress." Comedy takes the same apple, bites into it, and says, "This tastes like crap." That's honesty. And people love it, even when it stings. Especially when it stings, because the sting means it's real. Now, of course, not everybody likes hearing the truth, even wrapped in a joke. Some people take comedy very personally. They get offended. "How dare you make fun of that thing I believe in?" Well, if it's that fragile, maybe it deserves to be made fun of. If your belief system can't survive a punchline, it's not a belief system, it's a balloon animal. And it's not my job to babysit balloon animals. My job is to point out when something looks ridiculous. And let's face it, most of life looks ridiculous. Look at the way people behave at weddings. That's comedy gold right there. Everyone dressed up like penguins, following traditions nobody understands. Throwing rice, catching bouquets, shoving cake into each other's faces like toddlers. If you walked in from another planet, you'd think it was a lunatic convention. And that's the truth hiding in plain sight. But nobody talks about it because weddings are supposed to be as special. Comedy goes, "Yeah, they're special, all right. Special in the same way clowns are special." And people laugh because it's true. And here's the kicker. Comedy doesn't just tell the truth, it sneaks it past the guards. If you tell someone flat out, "You're being scammed," they get defensive. They'll argue, they'll deny, they'll double down. But if you put the same point inside a joke, they laugh. And in that moment of laughing, they admit it to themselves. Just for a second. That's the crack in the armor. That's when the truth slips in. Comedy is the Trojan horse of honesty. You ever notice how even kids understand this? A kid will laugh at something silly, but when you make a joke about rules, they get it. They know half the stuff adults tell them makes no sense. Eat your vegetables. No? Why? Because I said so. That's not a reason. That's a dictatorship. Kids laugh because they see the hypocrisy. They may not have the vocabulary, but they've got the instinct. That's why kids love fart jokes. It's not just about noise. It's about rebellion. A fart in church is comedy as truth-telling. Yeah, guess what? The human body doesn't care. That's the whole point. Comedy keeps reminding us not to take ourselves too seriously. Second people get too serious, they start inventing nonsense rules to justify it. Comedy pokes them in the ribs and says, "Relax, you're not that important." And people hate hearing that, but they need it. Because once you start believing your own seriousness, you've lost touch with reality. You're living in your own little museum exhibit. Comedy smashes the glass and goes, "Hey, dummy, life's happening outside."